Awesome.
Here, there, here.
Hey guys, it's Cameron from The Contortionist, and I'm going to show you this this rig I've got set up here for our tour with Periphery. So the first thing we hit in the rig is this buffer, the RJM tone saver, and I just use that so I can have the tuner out. You know, when you're going through 50 feet of cable, you definitely lose high end from. It's unfortunate to have to go through 100 feet of cable, but when you have to, this thing's definitely a necessity. And then I just use this compressor. It's the only compressor that I've actually thought sounded better when it's on. A bunch of other compressors, even when it has blend, even though it's a bunch of other parallel compressors, I end up thinking it just sounds better without it. But this pedal, just for some reason, is the one that it kind of helps me, and it actually does sound better. And I've just got the MIDI switching here. So I have set up in banks, and that just makes my life easier, because I like to use all this analog gear, but I have to, be able to switch it with MIDI and do things that are unfortunate. But when you have to, it's great. The banks are actually set up by song, so theoretically I've just got the bottom 5 switches are my basic tones that I'd use in every song, so they don't change. But then I've got separate banks, so let's say we go to the next song, I'll bank up, and I can use, and that way I have 10 sounds. I don't have 10 sounds for every song, but sometimes you might need a clock delay and then another clock delay at the end of the song if you've got tempo changes and stuff. So yeah, it's just nice to be able to do, be flexible like that. I've got this volume pedal. Basically, I mean, we do a lot of stuff. I liked a lot of the swells and volume swells, but mainly it's just nice to have, as far as if I didn't need to do swells, I'd still want to have this kind of visual indicator that I'm muted and I'm not going to blow someone's ears off. And it's all just running into this Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, 2 channels. Oh, and the G major, I'm actually got this in the effects loop of the amp for a little bit of spring reverb, usually is what I use it for. But obviously for some clocked delay sounds, like we've got parts where we have that kind of U2 dotted delay thing. And so let's say we're playing a few different songs at different tempos, I'd have to have clocked delays for that. Anything that's kind of blended, that, it's just kind of blended in the amp, that's what I would use that for. Again, it's MIDI, MIDI. So it helps me out, being able to recall everything the same way every time. So basically, I've got a drawer here that I've got some pedals in the loop of this patch mate, and that's in front of the amplifier. So I use all this stuff that I would normally use out in front of the pedal board, but this way it can all be programmed, and it just saves me from having to memorize. Muscle memory with the guitar is one thing, but having to memorize how to switch your sounds is unnecessary. So definitely helps a lot for me. But yeah, basically been using this Maxon pedal, the pure analog chorus, specifically in front of the amp for just those purposes. Just a Tube Screamer is Keeley modded, just his normal mod. This delay pedal, just in front of the amp for specific sounds. It's nice to have a delay in front, as well as a blended delay, and all sorts of blended delays with your inside the effects loop of the amp. But it's nice to have a nice analog delay in front, especially for the swells and stuff, to kind of cover up, swelling down your volume knob and stuff like that. Kind of bleeds over in a nice way. Kind of get that studio magic in a live setting. And then this decimator noise gate is just, let's be honest, it's the only reason it has to be in there is because it has to be, and this is a really nice pedal, and it does the job the best, I think. Rocking these fuzzes. on this tour for specific parts, and that's really made it sound huge. And I normally would be playing, like on the past tours, I would just use the tube screamer, which is great to tighten up things, but when you really want to let it loose, these pedals have definitely, they make me happy when I play a nice chord and hear what they're doing. And yeah, it's all in the rack here. So basically, the idea is that I can fly anywhere and use any amp, and it's all gonna work like I memorized it to work, basically. So, because I like to use all sorts of stuff, and I love messing with other pedals, and that makes it easy too to try new things on the road. Oh, this Univibe pedal is also kind of one of my. I'm a sucker for some Robin Trower stuff, so I use that a lot. Not too much with the Contortionist material, but definitely when I'm being selfish at home. The cab clone I use on stage primarily for our front of house engineer, Robbie Brown. He actually uses it in a blend setting where he will use the mic. Some nights it might sound more round and more full to use a little bit more of the direct signal. But it's nice. It's basically a DI load box so you can send it to the front of house direct, but it emulates their proprietary Mesa's sound. They've got it's actually not like an emulation. It's a circuit that they've designed to sound like. So it's actually analog, but it's cool. It solves a lot of problems just for my sound engineer, and it's cool to be able to go, throw different things in the monitors and hear some nights the mic signal sounds nice and hot. Sometimes it does not. So just depending on what happens that day. This is Cameron from The Contortionist, and I play Maxon.